Welcome to Type C Tech Reviews. Today we're going to be unboxing the Corsair Xeneon WQHD240-C. If you guys want to check out this exact same monitor, there's Amazon links below or Corsair links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. But let's get this unboxed because this is a very cool monitor. Now, the last time on the channel that we were unboxing a Corsair display, it was actually also an OLED. Ooh, very interesting packaging here. But last time Corsair was sourcing the panel from LG. This time it is a Samsung-based QD-OLED panel, which in my opinion is far superior. And in this video, hopefully we'll find out and it will live up to all the other QD-OLED panels from Samsung that I've reviewed. All right, so in the box first, we get white cables, which I really dig. Here's a DisplayPort cable that is 8K capable. We have an HDMI 2.1. We have a USB Type-C to USB Type-C. I'm assuming that this is also display capable. We then have the power cable, which looks like there's no power brick, so an integrated power supply. And we even have your standard Corsair, nice ends of the cables, USB Type-C to USB Type-A. We also have some Corsair monitor documents. I really do like the white branding here, it's nice. Okay, so in here, we have a color calibration report, which is always a good sign. In the full review coming in a few days, we will be testing this. But everything looks good here. Delta E, gamma's on point, 6500 Kelvin target, and it gets pretty dang close, 6495. Yeah, everything looks really good here. This video is not out yet, but I actually have an Alienware Samsung QD OLED based panel that I'm currently doing a long-term review on, as well as I personally bought the 49-inch super ultra-wide QD OLED from Samsung, and that was gonna be my daily monitor. Well, I actually sent that out. You guys might have noticed I haven't done the review yet because there was a few issues with that, mostly stemming from being a Samsung panel. And I might give away a little bit in this video why I don't recommend you buy the Samsung panel, the QD OLED from Samsung directly, but actually buying it from Corsair, Alienware, any of those other brands is a better idea. All right, but with that, let's continue on. Looks like we have the stand here. Really great packaging, and this feels quite premium. This is like a fabric rather than your classic just foam. I mean, this is like cotton. That's really nice. All right, taking this off, this feels like a much more luxurious experience. Look at that stand. Wow, that is a solid piece of metal on the bottom. This is gonna retail for about $1,199. This stand is awesome. It's like, maybe it's painted, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's just this kind of textured aluminum, really pretty. You also have a nice high quality thumb screw, tons of rubber on the bottom, solid piece of metal. I am loving this so far. All right, let's open this up and get that next half of the stand. This feels more like plastic, which is pretty common. Let's see what it looks like. Ooh, like the design here. I'm gonna take off this piece. That is very pretty. Corsair has been absolutely killing it with their monitor stands. I know it's something small, but look at the exposed hex bolts there. And then you have the Corsair logo. I think there's a piece of plastic over that. There is. Taking that off, it's even shinier. These little indentations here, it's nicely textured. You have good cable management. This may not look the best because it looks a little bit low, but we'll test that out. Lock-in stand, it feels good. We can see here, it looks like we're gonna have tons of adjustability. Doesn't look like any rotation, but it's an ultra-wide. But that's enough talk. Let's put this together. You line those pieces up and then screw it in with that high quality thumb screw, and that goes in nicely. That is a very pretty stand. Corsair has been killing it. No exception here. Let's get to the panel though. This is what I'm excited about. 34 inches, so it's an ultra wide. It has a 1440p resolution, and holy crap, look at the back of this thing. That is odd, isn't it? So we have, looks like we have cooling down here and a thick back plate. I mean, this is crazy thick, and then a thin, slim screen over here. Tons of Type A ports with a Type C port up here. Your power's on the back like an LG monitor. This is super strange, but actually I dig it because it's really easy to get to these. Another Type C display port, 2 HDMIs. I believe both of these are 2.1s. That is an extremely cool looking monitor. Let's get this snapped in. Line up those top 3 pins right there. Click it down. And we're up again using this cotton-like material. Wow, that's a cool looking monitor. I definitely loved the look of my 49-inch super ultra wide, but from the back, this is a very impressive looking monitor. I'm thinking we're gonna have active cooling, so we might have a fan in this, but you can see all of the cooling back here, openings here, and I think we have some on the bottom as well. Yeah, we do have some on the bottom. We have a joystick on the bottom which is really nice. You guys know I like that, but with that, let's get it on the desk. Ooh, this thing is heavy though. Okay, now the one thing that I can say right off the bat, these take up a lot of space. While we have space down here, these do come out a far ways. I would have preferred them to go out to the side a little bit more, but that is a really cool looking stand, so you can't be too mad about it. Okay, now we're gonna do initial impressions, gaming test, and a ghosting test. But before we do that, let's check out the stand, see how it does. I think this is all a metal border that's in white. I really do like the look of that. So we've got a good amount of height adjustability here. We've got tilt. All of these movements feel very, very refined. We've also got swivel that is super, super smooth. It's not from the base of the stand, which I don't prefer as much. It's from the top of the stand. You can see no rotation, but it's an ultrawide. You're not gonna use rotation. With that, let's get this plastic off. We have some plastic on the bottom. I really do like the Corsair logo. It's clean. And then we've got more plastic on the screen. Now, I believe this is a Gen 3 Samsung QD-OLED tech, and that checks out because, again, with light in the room, it turns slightly purple, which means it doesn't have the polarization layer. You only get those really, really deep OLED blacks when you're in a totally or dimly lit room, but darker room. I've been using that every day. For some people, it bothers them more. For me, I much more prefer the clarity of the QD OLEDs, the beauty of a QD OLED, and that glossy finish which doesn't degrade the picture quality at all. Personally, I think QD OLED is the best OLED tech on the market. But if your main priority is maybe competitive playing, well, actually, you can still do it on this with a 240 Hz refresh rate. Obviously, you want 480 and stuff. You can go with the LG based panels. Me personally, I think the Samsung panels are where it's at. With that, well, let's get it set up and do initial impressions. And with that, it's all set up, and I will say after plugging everything in, it went in super easy. It was probably, I would say, maybe the best and fastest plug-in process. I'm just gonna show you because of how easy it was. Typically, you're back here. I use the method of turning on your phone, your selfie camera, and putting it under there to plug in. Now, we plug in and out monitors almost every day. Right here, it's on the edge. It's super easy to just unplug this, look back there, plug it right back in. Same thing on the power cable side. This is probably the best ergonomics. Now, I don't know if other panels that they're gonna be supplying to other manufacturers are gonna have that same setup, or if that's a Corsair specific thing. I don't know, but it's awesome and it's great and I love it. With that, let's turn it on. Now, the power button is right under here. There's two buttons. There's a power button and then I think a input changing button, and then we got a joystick down here. I'm excited to see if they've updated their menu system at all, but it's already a win to have that joystick on the bottom right there. All right, guys, then immediately up on the screen, let's go right into the menu system. They haven't changed it too much, but it wasn't terrible before. We have different presets here. So we have movie, text, sRGB, creative, game, standard. Those are all the presets, but let's go down into those and let's turn the brightness all the way up, and it gets substantially brighter. Especially you can see in these highlights, with this wallpaper, these highlights actually get really bright. I mean, the depth and clarity of a QD OLED, if what you're looking for is beauty in a panel, you're not really gonna get much better than Samsung's QD OLEDs right now. You're just not. We also have sharpness, we have color temperature that's separate, and then going down, we've got gamma, which is set at 2.2, that should be calibrated. We have saturation, which turns up from 0, which is interesting, in steps of 1 up to 10. We have refresh overlay, we have crosshair, and crosshair color once it's on. Then we have picture-in-picture, picture-by-picture settings. We have our OSD stuff with timeout and just ways to customize it. Then we have other settings like your adaptive sync, triple monitor enable, which is interesting. We have a proximity sensor. I never use those, but it's cool that they have them. Source detection, auto source detection, and then we have a factory reset. We also have screen life management. This is to help with trying to mitigate burn-in, which I will say, this comes with a 3-year warranty, which is pretty much standard in the industry right now. Then we also have audio. Not sure if this has speakers. We have our inputs, and then we have other information. We're only running 60 Hz right now, but that is going to change. We also have HDR, which doesn't look like there's a way to manually set it on. You just set it on your system and then it'll come on. All right, with that, let's go into NVIDIA control panel and see what this thing can do. Firstly, it's at 60 Hz and this thing goes all the way up to 240 Hz. That original 34-inch ultra-wide, 1 that Samsung came out with that the Alienware, I think, debuted with. That was Samsung technology, but I think it debuted in the Alienware monitor. That was only 165 Hz. This bumps up to 240, and at 240, it looks like you can output 10 bits of color, which is very impressive. That's great. Also, ratings are 99% of the DCI-P3 color gamut, which again is awesome. All right, so yeah, now we're doing 240, 10 bits of color. It's super fast, super snappy. It looks beautiful, especially with this wallpaper. You get those really bright areas. Even in a bright room like this, the QD-OLEDs are just great because again, those highlights get even brighter. So even calling it 250 nits, I think it's a little bit above that in a full screen window, doesn't really give you that idea of how bright it is. It's brighter in a different way when compared to an IPS or a VA panel. With that, let's hop in game, see how this thing does. All right guys, jumping right in game. In Battlefield 1, the colors look great here. Very accurate looking colors. As with all the QD-OLEDs that I've reviewed, everything looks beautiful here. The greens look very accurate. They're not overdone. That is also one thing that I will say the Samsung panel had significantly worse accuracy, both just looking at it and after testing. And this panel visually looks great. Without testing it right, looks great. We're also gonna test HDR because we are just in SDR now, but brightness, even in a bright room, is good. We're not gonna get these super deep blacks like in these areas without the lights being totally off, but it's not like it looks bad. It still looks very nice and deep and black. Gamma also looks like it's on point here. So far, there is nothing to complain about. The one thing that I also forgot to test was the pixel separation, or the red-green that you see with pixels because of the subpixel layout here. I forgot to test that, but we will test that when we're talking about ghosting. But in game, you can see the black areas here look absolutely stunning. Nothing to complain about, honestly. I thought maybe the colors, but no. Corsair did a great job here. They're the ones who I believe are tuning the panel and obviously putting it in the shell, the case. Everything is great. This feels more polished than maybe any other brand in terms of its build quality, things like that. I think Corsair really is killing that, which in the past they have also done really well. Their engineers and designers are really good. Now, let's put this in HDR because that's where these QD-OLEDs are really designed to live, is in HDR. In HDR, overall full screen brightness looks like it's slightly bumped up. However, in HDR now, the overall clarity of things like the clouds are good, but the colors, I can tell you right off the bat, are off. Maybe there is some setting that we can go into and adjust that. So the preset we see here is HDR. Let's see if there's an HDR game or something like that. Okay, so we have HDR peak brightness, which did mess up the full screen of the game. We can change that. We're gonna switch this over again. Okay, also going in here, we're gonna look at the settings that we can adjust. You can see all this is grayed out: brightness, contrast, color, temperature. Yeah, it looks like we don't have any saturation, don't have any gamma controls, anything like that. Let's go down here and see if anything else is available. Yeah, so we don't really have any control over the picture once we're in HDR, which is something that the Alienwares were able to give you, which I thought was a massive, massive benefit. HDR is on here, and unfortunately the colors are definitely off. It's undersaturated. We saw this with another monitor. I can't remember which one it was, but the Alienware monitors gave you control of colors still in HDR, and that makes a big difference because something like this could be a deal breaker if you don't have a calibration tool for some people. Now, the 240 Hz is great here. That's what you're getting here. This ultra-wide 1440p resolution at 240 Hz is absolutely awesome. I mean, this is a massive benefit. However, that HDR is really going to bother me. And if I was gonna buy this monitor, well, I'd have to have a calibration tool because HDR is a big part of why you're gonna get this monitor. Now, I'm gonna test this with other games during the full review, so don't take this as gospel just yet, but everything besides that is awesome so far. 240 Hz at this ultra-wide screen size. I mean, I'm ultra-wide master race all the way. But for a lot of people, this could be endgame monitor territory. And for me, honestly, this is an awesome monitor. Again, just have to sort out the HDR. I believe on the Alienware 32-inch 4K QD-OLED, which is what I'm dailying right now, and I will be doing a update with that monitor, a long-term update. I believe it had something similar with HDR. I might be off on that, but I believe it had something similar, but the difference is you're able to go in and change settings in HDR. If Corsair could do an update to this, that would completely solve that. because honestly, it looks like just saturation needs to be increased a little bit. All right, with that, let's go over the Subpixel Layout, see how that's affected. I believe this is a Gen 3 panel, so it should be pretty good, but let's also test ghosting. Yeah, right after switching out of HDR, the panel is so much more pretty, which is not really what you want. All right, so first things first, we're gonna go into WordPad here. This is a 1440p monitor, so we're gonna check how the Subpixel Layout looks. Looking up close, we do have some of that color separation, but far better. And honestly, from this normal viewing distance, I notice none. Even small text, again, 1440p, you're gonna notice it a little bit more than the 4K panel, but it's a non-issue. It's so small. A lot of people have caused eye strain issues on previous panels. This one, it's just not gonna happen there. At least I don't think so. It's very minimal, to a point where unless you're really sitting this close, you're not gonna see it. All right, with that, let's test the ghosting, see how it looks. All right, we already knew this, but it's perfect. It's basically as good as you can possibly get without going, well, 480 hertz, but still, there's literally zero trail there. We know this. We'll set it to double the speed here, and still basically zero trail. I'll take the camera and show you what I'm seeing. And again, this is double the speed of your average UFO test. But yeah, it's absolutely flawless. Pair that with 240 hertz and you're getting a possible end game monitor for a lot of people. Now, if you like ultrawides, this one, well, I think for me, it makes a lot of sense. I really start at 240 hertz. At this point in time, I'm spoiled. I have a lot of monitors. And so really, I gravitate to 240 hertz monitors. Past that, I see kind of a diminishing return personally, and I do think the sweet spot with resolution, screen, all of that, 240 hertz currently is where it's at. Also price point and value. This thing is not priced ridiculous. This is priced at what the previous 34-inch from Alienware was, and that was only 165 hertz. This is, well, significantly better. The panel is better. The technology with the Subpixel Layout is better. The brightness is slightly better. Basically, all of this monitor is better. The stand is even, well, really good. Now, the only thing really of concern that I have, since I've reviewed so many of these QD-OLEDs, would be the HDR. Again, that might just be a Battlefield 1 thing, so I'm gonna go through and test it in a bunch of different games, but I don't think so, because even on the desktop, I noticed the colors being significantly undersaturated. I'm gonna look back at previous videos because I do remember also talking about that with another OLED. I'm pretty sure it was QD-OLED, maybe one of the Alienware monitors, I'm not sure, but that will be in the full review, so subscribe below. Coming in a few days, that full review where I go in and test everything. That's just an unboxing and initial impressions video. If you want to check this out, again, Amazon links or Corsair links below. This was Type C Tech Reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next video.